Are you serious? You think this little piece of paper gives you the right to stop my multimillion-dollar development? Don't you know who I am? Brenda's voice, as sharp and biting as a cold wind, cut through the quiet morning air, carrying the faint scent of fresh-cut asphalt and damp earth. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, trying to suppress the smirk playing on my lips. My grandpappy used to say patience was a virtue, but watching this woman, all dressed up in her Lululemon and self-righteous fury, I was finding a certain satisfaction in the delay. She had bought the 10 acres bordering our family's property. But then she just kept going, pushing past the old rusted fence line and bulldozing her way into a century of memories. Can you believe the audacity? She'd built 102 brand new, cookie-cutter houses complete with little picket fences and matching mailboxes right on the land my great-great-grandfather had cleared with his bare hands. I'm calling the police. She spat, her phone already at her ear, her manicured fingers trembling with rage. You're trespassing, and you're disrupting a legitimate business. It was all I could do not to burst out laughing right there. I watched her talk, her face getting redder and redder, her breath coming in short, sharp bursts. Didn't she hear the birds singing this morning? Or the low rumble of the stream? How could someone be so blind to everything but her own ambition? She had completely ignored my initial attempts to contact her, had her assistant hang up on me, and had her site foreman laugh in my face. It was one of those moments that makes you sigh, a deep, tired sigh that carries all the weight of history on your shoulders. I'd walked this land my whole life. I knew every gnarled oak tree, every moss-covered rock, every inch of the path that led down to the old fishing hole. And she had just erased it all. Her phone call ended, and she stomped toward me, her designer sneakers kicking up a little puff of dust. The sheriff is on his way. He's going to explain to you exactly what trespassing means. The condescension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Ma'am, I started. I think there's been a slight misunderstanding. Don't you ma'am me. You don't have the right to be here. This is private property. This is a legitimate homeowners association. She shrieked, her voice echoing off the newly built houses, each one a monument to her ego. It was then that a new sound cut through the air, the unmistakable crunch of tires on gravel. It wasn't the police, though. It was a brand new, gleaming black SUV, and out of the driver's side stepped Mr. Henderson, the county clerk, holding a stack of leather-bound documents. He tipped his hat at me, a familiar gesture that felt like a quiet wink. Brenda's triumphant smirk faltered for a second, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. Mr. Henderson, what are you doing here? She demanded. He ignored her and walked right up to me, handing over a thick, embossed folder. I took it, the weight of it feeling significant in my hands. The moment felt surreal, like a scene out of a movie. I just wanted to make sure you had everything you needed, Mr. Jones, he said, his voice calm and steady. Brenda's mouth hung slightly open, her eyes darting between us. The air was thick with unspoken questions. What was happening? Could it be that simple? Oh, it was a lot simpler than she could have ever imagined. I opened the folder, pulling out the deed and a laminated copy of the official county survey. I didn't even have to say a word. Mr. Henderson simply pointed to a precise line on the map, a line drawn in red ink that bisected her entire development. Mrs. Wallace, your 10 acres are right here, he said, tracing the perimeter with a finger. But these 102 houses, this new road, and the main water line? That's all on Mr. Jones's land. I saw the color drain from her face. She looked like she'd been punched. That's impossible. My lawyer said. Your lawyer looked at the wrong map. Ma'am, I interjected, my voice finally dropping the casual tone. The moment had arrived. The subtwist. I looked out over her new subdivision. The houses so close together they looked like little toy blocks. You see, my family didn't just own the land. We own the water rights, too. I nodded toward the stream that ran just behind her development, the same stream she had planned to divert to her new community fountain. And we own the only publicly accessible road that connects this entire development to the main highway. I watched as her eyes widened, a horrifying realization dawning on her. The road she had paved was on my land. The water she had planned to tap into was mine. Every single house she had built was landlocked and without a legal water source. It was a perfect, beautiful trap. It was like watching a house of cards finally tumble, each card representing a lie, an act of arrogance, a piece of someone else's property. The sound of her sharp intake of breath was the sweetest music I had heard all year. Her face twisted in a way I could only describe as a mixture of fury and absolute, crushing defeat. "This is a joke. A prank. I'll sue you for everything you're worth," she screamed, her voice cracking. But the fire was gone, replaced by a hollow desperation. From behind us, a car door slammed. A man in a suit, her lawyer, walked quickly towards us. He didn't even look at her. His eyes locked on the documents in my hand. He took one look at the survey, his shoulders slumping. "Brenda," he said, his voice low and apologetic. "We missed it. The original deed. It's all his." And just like that, her last line of defense crumbled. The silence that followed was deafening, save for the distant sound of birdsong. The new homeowners, drawn by the commotion, were now emerging from their front doors, their faces a mix of confusion and building dread. They started murmuring, questions flying through the air, their happy suburban dream turning into a legal nightmare right before their eyes. Brenda looked at me, then at the houses, then at her lawyer who was now backing away slowly. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The bitter taste of her own arrogance finally came back to haunt her. She had built a kingdom on a foundation of sand, believing her wealth and her entitlement were all the legitimacy she needed. But some things can't be bought, like the title to the land, the rights to the water, and the quiet satisfaction of watching justice finally prevail. In the end, it wasn't my anger that won. It was the land itself, rising up to meet her hubris, proving that no matter how much you build, you can't own what's never truly been yours. Now the real work begins, the work of restoring this land, of bringing back the quiet stillness she tried so hard to pave over.